Cold Comfort is one of the latest meta weapons added to Destiny 2 with the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon. Its unique perk set with Acrius Assassin, coupled with some damage perks such as Chill Clip, Explosive Light, and Bait and Switch, make it a viable choice across most of the content in the game and a serious contender for the highest DPS in the game. And with the raid race season starting up in about a month, ramping up for the next reprise raid, I thought today's video would be a nice idea to show off some methods in which you can farm out a good Cold Comfort for yourself and do some weapon prepping ahead of the time for the raid. We're going to be talking about two methods today that should get you into one-phase territory on Ektar, the first boss of the Ghosts of the Deep dungeon, getting you as low as 2-minute clears or at the very least a comfortable 2-phase clear. One method will involve a rocket burst damage strategy, while the other will rely on Legend of Acrius for those of you who feel uncomfortable at shooting an active moving target with rocket launchers. Both of these methods will be featured on screen for their damage, so let's go over what exactly you'll be seeing. Method number 1 consists of bringing a fire team with 1 Well-Radiance Warlock and either 2 Hunters or 1 Hunter and 1 Titan. The Hunter will play the role of debuffer with Tether, and if you have a second one rather than a Titan, you will be using Gathering Storm. If you opt to use a Titan, you should be on Thunder Crash or Bonk Hammer. Your composition will feature 1 Gjallarhorn user and 2 Legendary Rocket users, pretty standard, who will also run Arbalist. Whether you want to hot swap to Arbalist at the end or not is up to you, but the main reason for both players that are not Galley users to have it on for this is simply so that you break the boss's shield as fast as possible without any complications. For example, if somebody's running slowly to the DPS spot after dunking the last Visage. As for legendary rockets, virtually any decent rocket launcher will do as long as you can take a damage perk with you, such as Bait and Switch, Explosive Light, Frenzy, or even Vorpal. For mods, your team should have the following on just for consistency. Surge mods for damage, pretty standard. Radiant Light and Powerful Friends to ensure everyone is buffed at the start of the DPS phase. 2x time dilation mods on your class item. And finally, Powerful Attraction in the event that any orbs made around the boss will instantly come to you and give you surge damage instead of kind of like just rolling away. For exotic armor, Warlocks can opt to run Rain of Fire boots. Hunters using Gathering Storm should opt for Star Eater scales, and Titans should go with Falling Star or Syntheseps depending which subclass they choose to use. We'll get into method number 2 here in a second, but to quickly explain how the rotations worked for us and hopefully for you, it went as follows. Each player at the start of the fight chooses a knight to kill to speed up the process, left, middle, and right. There's 3 players, 3 knights. Additionally, if someone is already using a Cold Comfort, allow them to finish one of the 4 acolytes at the start to get their origin trait live with the finisher proc. Once killing your knight, whoever your symbol searcher player is, which you should have one by the way, they should head back to the middle and wait for the deep sight to come up as your 2 teammates are killing the ogre in the top middle by the statue. While your symbol player is searching and getting all 3 symbols, the 2 top floor players will be in charge of dunking 2 of the 3 Visages of Light you will get from the Hive Wizards, with one of them being in the middle statue immediately. The reason for this is simple, it's just to not have anyone fall behind by having to dunk in the center last, which means you'll be further away from the damage phase, as opposed to being at the left or the right statue. Once your symbol player has resurfaced to the top, you can call out for the final dunk at statue number 3, and at this point, whoever is not dunking should be headed back to the DPS spot where the yellow bar knight spawns, and you'll be killing him to get your relic buff to then break Ektar's shield with your Arbalist. So defeat the knight, use the buff combined with Arbalist to crack Ektar's shield, and then immediately start the damage phase. As seen on screen here, you're probably wondering how my Guardian is spamming rockets non-stop. This is thanks to Acrius Assassin, plus Radiance Dance Machines, which recently got a nasty buff from Bungie, and are very viable to say the least. And for those of you that are curious, I will be making a separate breakdown build video to talk about those boots specifically, but I just wanted to answer that in case some people might be asking while watching this. Also, should be noted that these are not mandatory, just very helpful to have in a similar vein as Rain of Fire is to Warlocks while using Gjallarhorn. And now let's talk about method number 2. So this one involves Legend of Acrius, which is much more forgiving in that it's significantly harder to miss your shots on the boss, and you will be up close and personal right next to him. This comp consists of 1 Well-Radiance Warlock, 1 Void Warlock utilizing Felwinter's Helm, and then 1 Flex player who can either be a Hunter on a Damage Super or a Titan on a Damage Super / Syntheseps with hammers. But Tether is not mandatory in this comp. If you're doing the Legend of Acrius method, there's a few things to keep in mind here while you're doing it. First, always aim for the neck. It's the most consistent spot to shoot Ektar for maximum damage. I assume this is probably because partially for the boss model and then partially of how Acrius fires with its pellets. In any case, just aim for the neck. Second, your rotation for how you shoot Acrius should go as follows. Now, remember to start off with a melee to proc Trench Barrel immediately, of course. Then, after firing your first shot, instead of following up with another one, you want to press your reload button first. The reason for this is Acrius' reload animation and the time it takes for you to let a second shot off is virtually the same. So essentially, this means you can reload one Acrius bullet every time you fire a shot, allowing you to never having to actually reload 3 or 6 shots at a time and wasting your damage timer. So all in all, your full rotation should be melee, shot 1, reload 1, shot 2, reload 2, shot 3, reload 3, and then finally, to restart the loop, you will melee once again to reproc your Trench Barrel. The idea for this comp is to have your damage supers ready to hit the boss, while your Fellwinter's Void Warlock will simply finisher any enemy around the boss when he spawns in. It doesn't matter if it's a Thrall, the Yellow Bar Knight, Orange Bar Knight, whatever. Doesn't matter. As soon as you finish that enemy, Echtar will then be debuffed for a 30% weaken, and then from here on, you use your Rift, combined with Child of the Old Gods, to keep that 30% debuff intact for the duration of the damage phase, essentially. So the way this works is, for some reason, Void debuffs, outside of Tether itself, which doesn't work for some reason, will attach to an enemy. Then, if you put a second debuff on top of that, before the first timer runs out, it will still continue that debuff that you originally put on the enemy, but it will keep the original percentage on it. So, Fellwinter's, take that for example, is 30%. You weaken the enemy through Fellwinter's on a finisher through an enemy, the boss is now weakened. Then, before that timer runs out, you put on Child of the Old Gods with your Rift. It'll continue that weaken effect now, so Echtar will still be debuffed by 30% instead of the usual and normal 15% that Child of the Old Gods would give you through its weaken. So essentially, you have an enemy that's debuffed at 30% for the duration of the entire damage phase without having to use Tether. Of course, if you feel like this is too complicated, feel free to just use Tether if you'd like. That's just my personal suggestion. Either way, rinse and repeat this loop until Echtar dies, and hopefully you have one-phase the encounter or have gotten a comfortable two-phase. I know reading this off as like a wall of text can sound complicated and intimidating, but trust me, once you've tried it out for yourself and got it into the rhythm and the swing of things, it'll come to you like riding a bike, and you'll be able to consistently farm this boss for the rocket launcher if you choose to do so. That's all for today. I hope this method helps you get to your rocket launcher and prep for the next reprise raid. And if you enjoyed the video or this method did help you, like, comment, subscribe today. It does help the channel. Much appreciated. And I'll catch you guys in the next video.